Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 20th annual SF Doc Fest. We appreciate you all being here and seeing some of the kind of eclectic, fun, and independent spirited films that we have here. You've just had a chance to see the very wonderful Guinea Pig Diaries, and we're lucky enough to have filmmakers Olympia Stone and Suzanne Mitchell here from the film. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
For some of the kind of long-term SF Doc attendees, they'll know that Olympia is now back with her third film in the festival. So maybe a good place to start is what was your all's inspiration for making a movie about this lovable and fun rodent?
Oh, I'm gonna let Olympia take that one.
Well, Suzanne and I are both guinea pig owners, which is really the heart of this, is that if anybody has ever owned a guinea pig, and many of us have as children, I got two guinea pigs for my daughter's, 8th birthday. And I was just so taken with them. I could not believe all the funny noises they made and how much personality they had. They are like little dogs almost. And they were just surprising and funny. And it was in the middle of this very dark time. And it just was like the perfect antidote to the rest of the craziness in the world. And when Suzanne and I, who have worked together in the past, found out that we both owned guinea pigs, we were like, let's make a film. If we can figure out how to do it, this would be so fun to work on. So.
Yeah, and I think we said it in the intro to the film, that we took 6 months to really research the subject, and it's, believe it or not, you get into these little niche subjects and then suddenly a whole world I didn't even know about opens up. So we learned that there are places where people show them. And these are big competitions. If you've seen Best in Show, it's like that, except with guinea pigs. And then we learned, obviously, about the really important work that the rescue organizations are doing. And then we also learned about the fan clubs through, social influencers on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. And we wanted to cover it all. Of course, everybody always asks, well, what about South America? It's the Peruvian cuisine. And for us, that story's been done. We mention it in the film very briefly, but it was really about the passion between people and their pets. More than people and a food source or farming the animals. I think one of the great things that Olympia discovered was Dr. Ann McBride, who we saw throughout the film. And wow, she is such a wealth of information. She works at Southampton University down in the southern part of England. And who knew, right? Who knew there was somebody whose expertise was small prey animals, specifically the rodent, and guinea pigs fall into that. And I think, we did an interview with her, and it must have been about a 2-hour interview. I wish we could have played the whole thing because she's just a great wealth of knowledge. And we tried to use some of the key and most salient points that most people who have pets could relate to. And we talk about this, right, Olympia? It's not only if you have a dog, if you have a guinea pig, but if you have a dog or a cat, a ferret, a hamster, a gerbil, maybe even a bird, you can relate to this film.
And, I think that's a good point in the sense of I myself have never owned a guinea pig before, but after seeing the movie, actually, my brother and his girlfriend do own one. I went and got them a guinea pig subscription of the magazine out of England just to surprise them, I was like, oh, now I understand why they love these creatures so much. There's something just kind of so fun and playful about the film, And so how did you kind of decide that was the tone and vibe, and how did you kind of integrate it into the storytelling?
Oh, I would love you to answer that, Olympia, because you were so great during the editing process of saying, oh, I think we need to do a little more of this and a little less of that.
Well, I mean, I do think that that I was primarily into this subject, besides the fact that I think it's, it so happened that it was, again, against this very dark background of what was going on in the world. And then also this feeling of, there's, I don't know, just that that we needed something kind of light and fun and relatable that people could kind of indulge in, you know, like a safe place to go. I mean, I found myself thinking that when I would look at the footage and the interviews and kind of think about the film. And I think that, I don't know. I mean, I think there was just, you know, most of the people have funny stories to tell. I think if anybody who's around guinea pigs can talk about their funny noises, they're their own connoisseur of why they're such endearing animals. And it wasn't hard to stay light with this material. I do think there are, you know, obviously the rescues, there's some heavy stuff there. Just in general, any animal rescue can be a really depressing topic. And we did, as Suzanne said earlier, we did want to quickly touch on the fact that, yes, we know there's this really important history with the guinea pig in the Andes and that part of the world. And more than just for food, but they're also these revered creatures in the culture. I mean, they're given as wedding gifts, but that just felt like it was too hard to kind of shoehorn into a more contemporary story that, I don't know. I mean, frankly, we also didn't have the budget to go to Peru. So that probably had something to do with it too. But
what do you think, you know, at the end of the kind of making of the film, what's the kind of most surprising thing that you discovered, you know, and that was just kind of, you know, that you've kind of taken away after making this story?
well,
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, and then, but I think Suzanne and I are both, as in case anybody needed to understand this more, animal lovers. Like, we both love animals. We have dogs. I have a bearded dragon. I have my guinea pigs. Like, I love animals. And I have really appreciated over the course of making this film how incredibly important the human animal relationship is. And so in the case of this film, it's guinea pigs, right? But I just think that there is something that is that we need, you know, as humans, that comes through in this relationship. And Suzanne, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, what's interesting is, you know, we shot this pre-COVID. We edited during COVID. It's now releasing in the midst of sort of inching out of this pandemic. So the timing is really interesting. But what I found surprising was that I always thought of a guinea pig and hamsters too, and I take this all back now, as pets that I would have had and I did have as a child, or that my son had when he was a child. And what's so interesting about guinea pigs, and it started in my own house after my son left, you know, the empty nesters, my husband and I, we were buying some cat food in a store and saw this guinea pig that was returned. Some kid wasn't paying attention. Some parent brought it back. They can't sell it. So we said, oh, was that guinea pig returned? And they said, yeah. So we asked if we could adopt it. And the person who fell in love and was so awestruck with this guinea pig was my husband. I mean, he created a playpen and would get inside the playpen and play ball and stuff with this little guinea pig. Meanwhile, we had dogs and a cat, but there was just something so special that actually adults relate to. I think sometimes even more so than children. And that to me was really surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is one of those things, you know, like with the kind of smaller animals, it's like sometimes labeled as like the test pet, right? It's like, can the kids be responsible enough to take care of this so they can graduate to the bigger animal or the animal that lives a longer period of time or whatnot. You know, it's interesting you both mentioned about this kind of human animal connection. Was that something when you went into the film that you knew you wanted to share, or was it just based on you wanted to go down the rabbit hole of like learning everything guinea pig, and you know, because there's so much passion around it? Like, at some point in time, where did you discover that larger theme?
Ooh, I would say when you discovered Anne McBride. That's what I mean. It was inherent in every story. We just wanted to find people who were passionate about it in like those areas that we talked about, right? Rescue, show, breeding, pets. And in each one of the stories, we realized there was this humanity behind the reason the person may have gone down their own rabbit hole with the guinea pig, not to mix rodents. But like the gentleman whose dad was ill with dementia, and had to quit his job and realized that, well, he had pet guinea pigs for his kids when he was young, and he was going to create a little hobby for people to bring their pets. But it was that multi-dimensional story between the relationship of him and his dad and his relationship with the guinea pig that we couldn't have expected going into this. It's sort of what the documentarian does, right? They go in eyes wide open, and then things emerge. And then when you start to look at that in a big mosaic picture in the edit room,
Pattern. Yeah.
you sort of see a pattern. And we didn't think about that, when we went into it. We didn't think, oh, let's find the person who might have suffered some sort of medical illness and turn to guinea pigs to help them recover psychologically. It just happened. So
yeah, and
Yeah,
I want to just underline that, because I think, again, like, that is the wonderful thing about making documentary films, is the surprises along the way, right? You never know what you're going to find. And I do think that our primary motive was like, guinea pigs, the animal, kind of led us to these people. And of course, there are going to be people involved with, putting them online and, talking about them. But I think it was definitely something that emerged as we started researching.
I think one of the things that many people don't realize sometimes about a documentary is just like how tough it can be to kind of weave these kind of survey films together, because there's so many disparate stories and so many characters, and you guys did a great job of doing that. So it felt like this kind of cohesive, film. Were there any like, for lack of a better word, survey documentaries that were kind of quirky that inspired you, or that you kind of liked their structure, or influence that you knew you're like, hey, we're going to go make the guinea pig version of, this movie, but with our own kind of flavor?
Well, let me just first say that it takes a village to make a great guinea pig film. And so we want to really say thank you, not only to the people who were in the field filming and doing audio, but really a special thank you to our editors. Lisa Palatella, who really helped us structure this film when it was all of these disparate stories, right? And then R.A. Fetty, who came in at the end and polished everything for us. And our post-production house, which was actually in London. We posted this in London. Thank goodness for the internet. We were able to do that during COVID. Splice Post did that. But I think that, ask the question again, because now I just went off track.
Were there any other kind of like survey documentaries, even if they weren't about animals, that?
Well, I said to Olympia that there was a film that I saw in festival that did really well. It was a very short film. It was only 14 minutes. It was called Pickle. And it was
yes.
Have you seen that? It's so great. And quirky and fun. And I was using that sort of as a reference point, where when I first started talking about it with Olympia and she started talking about it with me, we kept saying, yeah, this has to be fun, right? We have to have some fun. It has to be warm-hearted, but it also has to have some moments where you giggle.
And personally also is, obviously you never want to do this as a filmmaker anyway, in general, ever, is you don't want to ever make fun of people or take this in a way that is, just not respecting their feelings and all of that. So that was important too, to strike that tone where it's fun, but you're not making fun of,
Exactly. And there really was no one to make fun of. Everybody was a really special person in the way that they treated their animals and they treated themselves and their fellow humans. So that was really great. But I would say that, at first we thought, well, this is just going to be a short, we're going to get this in under 14 minutes. And then we would find another story. And then we would find another story. And then we find another story. And I think the idea for the Guinea Pig Diaries emerged through, I think it was your son, right, Olympia, who came up with the idea for the name, which was so perfect because at this point we had sort of these segments. Each segment was a different profile of a different person and why they either had a guinea pig or were in the guinea pig world. And so it sort of made sense, like you were flipping through a book of stories.
Nice. Well, before I forget, if you haven't seen, you mentioned the Pickle or Mr. Pickle movie. I don't know if you've seen it's a very different sort of film, but speaking of rodents, Muskrat Lovely is by the same director. Another rodent.
Oh, really?
Of course, very different, but quirky in that way. She does a lot of great films, you know. Well, I love
Your film, Chris. We should, right? Oh no, you just went. So, Suzanne, can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I'm sure Chris is coming back. I can see it.
So I was going to say, I think you watched also with me another film called Rat. It was about rats. Did you?
Oh yeah, yeah. We saw a film about rats.
And then there's a film called like Chicken People or something.
Yeah, yes.
Oh yes.
But that's another one that. Yeah. So there are, animals. We looked at some animal films, and I saw there were some dog films too that came out, and we were looking at all of them. So
yeah, well, you guys bring you kind of your own kind of personal voice to the film, and really appreciate you sharing it with us here at DocFest. What's the best way that we in the audience can kind of help follow the film's adventures and also kind of help spread the word?
So we have a great website where people, if you go to the bottom of the homepage, under the trailer, you will see a place where you can sign up. Just give us your email, because then we can let you know when the film will be out outside of the festival circuit and also available more broadly, because we keep getting, through our Instagram and our Facebook posts, we keep getting people asking, when can I see it? Where can I see it? So right now we're going to be directing everyone to your festival. We'll have directed everybody to your festival, but we're waiting to see where it's going to wind up. Distribution is a funny thing in this world, and there's all these hybrid models where you can possibly have a broadcast and distribute it yourself. But the most important thing is the URL for the website, guineapigfilm.com, guineapigfilm.com, not Guinea Pig Diaries, because if you put in Guinea Pig Diaries,
it's taken.
Yeah, it's a book that came out many years ago. So it's guineapigfilm, singular.com. And you can find us on social media as well.
Awesome.
So I just played a lip reading session, probably with Olympia, because Chris froze for a minute and we lost his audio. So I was trying to figure out what he was saying.
That's right. Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being here, and everybody, please spread the word about this really charming and fun film. And thanks again for being here, Suzanne and Olympia.
Thank you, everybody. And don't forget, rescue. If you want a guinea pig, go to your local rescue.
Yeah.